What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the NFL betting show where it is week 10. We are cruising through the halfway point. I feel like it's kind of been, sometimes I think about like the season and I'm like, oh, it feels like it's been long, but then it's also like, I can't believe it's already like over the halfway point, which is crazy to think. But anyways, we appreciate you guys joining us. Abby Labar, Chris Meaney, Sam Choudhury joins us as well. He was with us. I think, what
Yes.
were we talking about, Sam? Week 3, 4? We had
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it was really early. Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's get immediate thoughts off the top since Sam, you're joining us for the first time in a minute. How about the AFC North? Hello, absolutely stacked, which is insane. Generic thoughts about the season thus far, maybe like your favorite storyline, Sam.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that we're already double-digit weeks into the season. Like, I feel like just a couple weeks ago, I came on the show talking about these teams, and it was interesting then because that's sort of when we don't really have a good gauge about who these teams are. We're sort of relying on the priors, still sort of figuring things out. But week 10, we're sort of seeing the playoff picture shape out. I mean, you talked about the AFC North. We have all four teams in the AFC North right now if it ended going to the playoffs. So
Insane.
yeah, you're sort of seeing the teams. You're sort of seeing the haves and haves not, like which team is put together to make a legit postseason run. I mean, on the NFC side, teams are just going to get in that aren't really contenders just with how weak the conference is. But yeah, from week 10 on, we're going to hit Thanksgiving soon. This is sort of where, I mean, every game in the NFL is, that's one thing I prefer the NFL compared to, MLB, NBA, because you can't just take a game off. But these last couple weeks are really when you're playing for seeding in the division. So yeah, it's going to get really exciting.
And Chris, your Eagles are just flying high in Philly.
They're escaping. It's they've found all kinds of different ways to win football games this year, and I think that they certainly escaped with a W last week, and the buys come at the right time for them because even in that final drive, like Bradbury went down, Slay went down, Devontae Smith was dealing an injury. Of course, Jalen Hurts has had the knee brace on. I think it was more on the Cowboys letting one slip. I mean, they lived inside the red zone in the fourth quarter, and they only settled for 6 points in situations where they were like goal to go. And we're through 10 weeks here. And for Dallas, I know we're not going to dive into them because they're like 17. Are they like 24-point favorites now? I don't know. The line may have changed against the Giants, but they'll find a way to win that football game for sure. But they have red zone issues. Like their touchdown percentage inside the red zone is 29th in the league. Their goal to go touchdown percentage is 31st in the league. They're not getting much on the ground at all from Tony Pollard. It seems like they actually miss Zeke at the moment. They need that short yardage back or somebody to pound it in the red zone. So we'll see what happens in the second half. But yeah, the Eagles, we won't talk about them anymore this week because they're on the bye, and then out of the bye, they'll play the Chiefs in the rematch of the Super Bowl. So that should be fun next week.
Hey, did you see that Jason Kelce was named like sexiest man alive finalist? I would have never, we put our money on a lot of things on this show. I don't know if I would have put my money on that. Like all this Travis talk, and now Jason's like, hey, I got the best reward.
It's the Kelce world, and we're all just living in it. Yeah, it's been an unbelievable couple of years for them, even before this whole Taylor Swift stuff. I mean, they played each other in the Super Bowl. Kelce's got a documentary, and it's all really about Jason and not Travis. But I thought maybe that Travis would be named one of the sexiest. I know he had the Catching Kelce show years ago, and now he's got himself Taylor Swift. So yeah, it's the Kelce world. Everything is Kelce, and Swift. It's wild.
I love it.
Yeah, actually, funny story about that. So I went to UC in college where Travis and Jason went, and one of my buddies, like obviously when we were in college, they were living at the same house that they both bunked in when they were in college, and we were pre-gaming one night, and they drove by and knocked on the door just because they wanted to see their old house, and like we were all like starstruck, like
no way.
Yeah, they're like, we just want to see what our place looks like. They just like walked in and like they're like, yeah, it's pre-gaming. And we're like, yeah, about to head out. And yeah, they just took a tour around the house and just like up and left. We got pictures with them and stuff. But yeah, it was fun.
That's a good story. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Well,
I love both of those guys, by the way.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They seem great, which is a good look for the NFL for sure. Hey, speaking of things that are sexy or maybe not sexy, this Thursday night football game might be, we like to talk about the ugly games here on FTM. This might be the ugliest. I think it's like so ugly that we probably shouldn't even really talk about it, but we do have to bring it up. DJ Moore revenge game. Hello.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I hope it happens. It sounds like Justin Fields will be good to go, so that's good for DJ Moore because he hasn't really done a whole lot with Taysom Bagent under center. Although Bagent did have a pretty decent game against the Saints last week, and didn't get that cover because of the Saints have some issues kicking field goals this year, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, I don't have too much, honestly, to say about this game. The Panthers have no run game. All the attention has been on CJ Stroud as the rookie quarterback balling out this year, and not so much Bryce Young. So this is I think a bit of a tough spot for Carolina to move the ball on the ground. The Bills have surprisingly been pretty decent against the run. I don't know, Sam, if you're feeling anything, early thoughts from a showdown DFS slate type of deal, but Khalil Herbert probably back here. But yeah, it's Abby. It's not a really entertaining game on the slate.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have some fun with my Thursday night football parlay for that one. Go ahead, Sam.
No, yeah, I mean, early thoughts. I agree with Abby. I think, I mean, I haven't looked at, showdown pricing or anything, but I definitely want to have a lot of DJ Moore. I mean, Justin Fields coming back, I do think he was already peppering DJ Moore. I mean, what other incentive would you have than to give it DJ Moore? I don't think he'll be limited rushing because, I mean, it wasn't like a lower body injury or anything, but if anything, if you do expect to see more dropbacks, it only goes to DJ Moore. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll ladder his receptions. I'm sure the Thursday night bet of the night is going to be something with DJ Moore, so we'll see.
I already was looking at that, and I'm like, nah, everyone's going to be talking about this one. I need to get a little more creative here, but
yeah, no odds yet, Abby, for him at the moment, but I like the latter call because before Justin Fields went down, he really was peppering. Sam's absolutely right. He was giving the ball to DJ Moore. He was extremely explosive. Only thing I see in our prop shop is plus 250. And that's why the prop shop is so cool because it's Caesars is showing plus 250 for a touchdown, FanDuel plus 170, and then BetMGM is minus 115. So it's a pretty big difference to be able to get plus 250 to minus 115 at one book.
Yeah.
So keep an eye. I would imagine his receiving yard props in the 50s, and I would take the over in that one.
All right. Well, a more appealing game. 49ers at Jacksonville. Both teams are red hot right now. Well, I would say, the Niners obviously haven't won since week 5, but they're still a big topic in the NFL. Jacksonville is really hot right now. About as nice as Trevor Lawrence's hair is. So they're both coming off of the bye week. Sam, what are your thoughts on this? The Jaguars haven't beaten the 49ers in 18 years. That's a crazy stat.
Yeah, and these two teams, they're sort of trending in opposite directions. Obviously, 49ers got off to that hot 5-0 start, and they've dropped 3 straight. And I had to take a second look at it. The Jaguars 5-0 win streak in their last 5 games. That's the longest active streak in the NFL right now. So I think the -3, I think it's still giving credit to what we've seen from San Francisco the past couple seasons and sort of their quick start to begin the season. But yeah, I think the 3 points is still a little too low for the 49ers. I think on paper, just with their recent play, you'd probably lean towards Jacksonville being the better team. But I think the 49ers struggles are sort of directly correlated with how the offense has faltered without Deebo Samuel. I mean, in their 5-game win streak, they were over 30 points per game on offense all 5 games, and they haven't hit that mark since. And I mean, even in their first loss where Deebo Samuel exited against Cleveland, they should have won that game had it not been for the missed field goal. That would have been a walk-off. They were down 2 points, and they would have had the lead with no time remaining. And then they missed a field goal before halftime. I think it was a 51-yarder, which goes to show you probably shouldn't draft a kicker in the first 3 rounds. But another thing, obviously, we're all big on DVOA, which sort of takes away the noise with records and whatnot out of the equation. And after the Dolphins' struggles against Kansas City in that Germany game, we now have the 49ers as the second. Or no, they're number 1 in offensive DVOA now. And they're number 1 in passing DVOA. So even with Brock Purdy struggling the last couple of games, they still have the best passing offense by our numbers in the league. And Jacksonville's defense has been great. I think they're a top 5 unit in DVOA against both the pass and the rush. But I think coming off the bye, Kyle Shanahan, I think he'll have a good game plan with against Jacksonville. And I think Debo is going to be huge for Brock Purdy. I mean, he's been night and day with and without Debo Samuel. He had no interceptions the first 5 games with Debo, and then he's turned to pick in every game since then in their 3-game losing streak. So I think that'll help. We don't have any confirmation with Trent Williams yet. But regardless, like I said, I think they're going to be a lot more prepared with the bye. They've already had 2 games missing Williams now, and I think the offense is going to look a lot better.
Well, and then of course everyone's talking about that the bye coming at a good time for Brock Purdy and his health, because everyone's like, well, clearly hasn't been the same Brock Purdy. Chris, do you have any thoughts on this game? I know that I was looking at our NFL tools. There's a 10% edge actually for Jacksonville to cover that +3, and then the under also has a 10% edge. I know that's not huge, but curious your thoughts.
Yeah, the model does seem to like Jacksonville here in this spot. I lean with Sam, and I've been a little bit hard on the Niners over the past couple of weeks, but it's a lot of the points that Sam brought up. No Debo Samuel has kind of been the safety valve there, safety blanket, I suppose, for Brock Purdy. And also Trent Williams. I mean, he's on the sidelines today. I saw he's not really practicing. He's tossing a football around, which is more that he's done over the past couple weeks. So he may not be able to play in this game, but having Debo back, it sounds like he's good to go. The addition of Chase Young is going to be huge, right? Because Bosa just gets doubled, and now you're going to have Chase Young being able to get after the quarterback as well. I thought that was a really good addition by the Niners, and I don't think any Eagles or Dallas Cowboys fans liked seeing that move just last week. But Trevor Lawrence hasn't really been that great this year. Like, the Jags are finding ways to win football games, but he's got 9 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions. There's just 2 games this season where he's had more than 1 passing touchdown. One against the Colts. Actually, they both came against the Indianapolis Colts. So, I mean, that's not really saying a whole lot, because that team's played to just a lot of overs this year. 2 passing touchdowns in week 1 against the Colts, and then week 6, 2 passing touchdowns. A decent game against the Steelers, but he still only had 1 passing touchdown. So I think the bye came at the right time for the Niners, just like we talked about with the Bengals over the past couple weeks. Yep. Bye came at the right time. Guys getting a little bit healthier. Shanahan's a terrific play caller. A couple weeks to prepare here. It should be a really, really, really fun game, because I like Doug Peterson after the bye as well to kind of figure things out for this offense. If Zay Jones can get back in the lineup. So it looks like reinforcements on both sides. But I think what we see here is overreaction with recent trends of the Jags winning and then the Niners losing with getting 3 points. The better football team is San Francisco.
All right. Meaney, Steelers versus Green Bay. Last week you had the Rams, right?
I did.
And you were like, trash. The Packers are trash. Now
they are. They're still trash.
They are. That's fair. You're going Pittsburgh, obviously.
Ooh. I am going Pittsburgh. They're still bad. I think that they only won that game because Matthew Stafford didn't play in the game. I've been pretty hard on Jordan Love. I really have, but I'll go to some DVOA statistics here. Actually, I'll save them. Just want to go to Jordan Love again. 59% completion rate, 6.6 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 8 picks. In the last 6 games, he has 6 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, 20 points or fewer in 6 straight games. So they're not scoring a lot of points. I'm not impressed with last week's performance. They still started very slow. They had 1 touchdown in the first half. They have 4 touchdowns in the first half all year long. This isn't a team that has been able to move the ball. They're playing from behind. I don't think he can play from behind against the Steelers. I just look at their last 3 games on the road, 17 points, 13 points, 20. If you take away week 1, where they had a good showing against the Bears and everybody got excited about Jordan Love in this offense, they're averaging 17 points per game. And I just think it was because Rippon was incapable of completing a pass. They went out and signed Carson Wentz. That's how bad he was last week. So if you look at DVOA statistics, Green Bay, 22nd in total DVOA. They're 21st in offense, 22nd in defense. Pittsburgh's kind of middle of the pack. But defensively, they're very they can get after the quarterback. Porter Jr. looks like a really good player already in the league. They're coming off that mini bye. I'm not impressed with Pittsburgh's offense either. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that they have a lot to offer here. But Deontay Johnson's been back, for a couple games now. He's looked like he's given them something here. They have wins at home against 2 really good squads, at least defensively, that we like, in the Browns and the Ravens. So those were impressive wins. Yeah. 3, I see 3.5. It opened up at 2.5. If you missed that, I still like the 3 here to kind of get it done. No Christian Watson, maybe. And even if he does play, he hasn't shown us a whole lot here. EPA per play, expected points added, dead last in the first half of games this season. So slow starts, good defense on the road. Yeah, give me the Steelers here to hopefully win by 4.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, 16 takeaways, the third most in the NFL. So their defense, continues to play well. Sam, do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm definitely on Meaney's side here. I mean, any chance to bet against Jordan Love, like this guy is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like he was running like the sun early in the season. And I mean, you could see the bottom was gonna fall out eventually. Like the way he was playing, it was completely unsustainable. I mean, they were even getting lucky on a few turnovers on defense, but if you see the guy play, if you look at the numbers, it was only a matter of time before Green Bay just falls through the cracks. And yeah, Pittsburgh's not a great offense, but this is probably one of the few times that we'll see that Kenny Pickett is probably the better quarterback in the matchup. So at home, yeah, I'll definitely give me the Pittsburgh over here.
It's like Jordan Love and Bryce Young. I was so excited for both of them coming into the season, and it's just disappointing.
I was excited for Jordan Love too. It's an opportunity, but it is a
lot about him too. We were ready for that.
And from a fantasy standpoint, he's okay because he's kind of sneaky on the ground. He runs a little bit, but it's a very young offense. And Dubs, who's in year number 2, and Watson in year number 2, and Musgrave, who's just a rookie tight end. So they just have a lot of, Reed is another rookie as well. So they just have an inexperienced offense, and Love, just when I watch him play, he just can't get the ball to his playmakers. So it's a big issue, and I just don't like him to go into Pittsburgh and be able to move the ball. I mean, this is they're top 10 in total DVOA when it comes to the Steelers. Again, offensively not great, but 7th defensively is pretty stout.
All right. So in perfect, like Mike Randall fashion, Sam, you come in and you want to talk about the Saints and the Vikings. He wanted to come on the show for like a second, and we were like, no, like you're not on the show. You don't get to come and defend yourself, because all he's going to do is hop on and talk about the Saints.
Hates the Saints.
Hates the Saints.
Sam gets to talk him up.
Yeah, Sam, your thoughts. Saints, Vikings. Josh Dobbs comes in for Minnesota unexpectedly. We had no idea what we were going to see, and it was like he was like the hero of the game. So good news for Vikings fans. I know that they've been obviously stressed without Kirk Cousins, but for the Saints on the flip side, what do we think about them? Because right now they jumped into the top spot in the NFC South, which is huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason that we're not getting a full 3 points with the Saints is pretty much what you said. We saw Joshua Dobbs get thrown in right in the fire. And I mean, he balled out. He single-handedly almost won them that game. You don't know Justin Jefferson. But as far as the Saints go, I feel like their season is sort of a tale of 2 halves. In the beginning, it was sort of a feeling out process. Derek Carr's first season with the Saints, he was still getting used to the offense. But even when you look at it, they're 5-4. And their 3-game, or 2 of their 4 games that they lost was sort of the one game against Green Bay with Jordan Love we were talking about. I mean, they were cruising to a win there, up 17 at half, and then Derek Carr picked up that shoulder injury, and it was Jameis Winston the whole second half. And even then, they should have sent the game into overtime. I think there was like a 47-yard field goal that they missed, and I mean, maybe they would have pulled it off in overtime. I'm not sure, but regardless, Derek Carr came back. And he just looked terrible. I mean, he shouldn't have been out on the field, and that was another loss there. But then you see the last couple games, pretty much when Alvin Kamara came back. I'm not big on the debating how much running backs matter, but I think it does matter when a player sort of changes the makeup of your offense. You sort of see their pass rate over expectation has increased a lot. I mean, a lot of that is due to the checkdowns to Alvin Kamara, but I mean, even we saw last game, they didn't really have to do much on offense. It's just Derek Carr, he's like not really a talent elevator, but he doesn't make mistakes. And this Saints team is a really well-built team, especially in the recent weeks. And I think we're sort of overrating the Vikings offense didn't even look that great. I mean, yeah, they got the win, but I don't know. I think even though Joshua Dobbs is going to be more accustomed to the new offense. We saw how brutal he looked down the stretch with Arizona. He was a good story in the beginning, but then he was one of the most off-target quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think we could sort of see a letdown spot for Joshua Dobbs. I mean, I'm rooting for the guy, but this Vikings team was really good against Kirk Cousins, but I don't think they're a playoff caliber team with Joshua Dobbs. So I think the Saints, I think they'll win pretty handily, and I'm not expecting Justin Jefferson to come back, and I think KJ Osborne is going to miss too. So you got Jordan Addison, Brandon Powell, and I don't know who the third receiver is going to be. And
Doesn't matter.
What was that?
It doesn't matter who the third wide receiver would be.
Hey, so
and, like,
Alvin Kamara, go ahead.
Yeah. And you look at the weakness on the Saints side. I mean, they're pretty solid defense, except they're ninth in DVOA against the pass and 14th against the rush. But Minnesota can't really exploit. I wouldn't even say 14th is really a weakness on their side, but Minnesota has been one of the worst teams running the ball. They're 28th in rushing DVOA, and then I don't know how much Cam Akers matters, but he's not going to be here. So I think they are going to need Joshua Dobbs to put the team on his shoulders. And I don't know, with this Saints defense, I think I'm going to side with the Saints here.
All right, so Alvin Kamara, according to our models, under 54.5 rushing yards shows an 11% edge. And then in addition to that, the Vikings have started the week as the underdog 3 times in this 4-game win streak. So, Chris, I'll ask you, are you riding with the Saints too, or are you going to have a reason to roll with the Vikings?
No, I've been riding with the Saints, and I think the smart play has just been to take them on the money line all year. I know last week was just there was too much juice, right? They have played to a lot of tight games. Sam mentioned the one game that they lost against the Packers. It was, Carr was forced out of that game, and I think Jameis came in and was like 7 straight 3-and-outs in that situation. But it really is about the defense. Like, I'm not sold on Derek Carr being a great quarterback, but it's the defense. It's the things that we've talked about over the past couple of episodes. They can stop the run. The Vikings can't run the football. One of the best quarterback completion percentages against. And Taysom Hill is just doing things every single week. I mean, we've had it in the bet tracker, rushing yard props. He had back-to-back games with a rushing touchdown, and then last week, he caught one and he threw one. Like, he's just doing random stuff. It's like a Shohei Ohtani. He's just like all over the place doing all kinds of different things. And he's a weapon, and they should get him the ball a little bit more. So I don't know about the Kamara rushing yard prop. I'd maybe stay away from that one. The Vikings rush defense has actually been pretty decent. But you can throw on this secondary, and he's going to be involved catching passes. I would much rather take the receiving yard prop and the reception yard prop. But yeah, of course, I'm with Sam here and the Saints. And if Randall was here, he would tell us.
I was trying to play for Randall for a second. I'm like, maybe we can get some Minnesota love or some not. But no, we're not. Sorry, Randall. It's not happening. Yeah. Not happening. All right, Lions at Chargers. Chargers have a short week. Lions coming off the bye. Chris, you and I are like hockey people. So Sam, are you a hockey guy? You like hockey?
I'm not. I want to get into it, but
sure. We, in hockey, it's always like the back-to-back. It's always like, the team that is coming in with less rest versus more rest. But like the Chargers, I look at them and I'm like, okay, yeah, they have the short week, and the Lions are the ones that are rested, but the Chargers are riding with some momentum, and maybe they can kind of keep that going versus the, fresh legs or the rusty legs in Detroit, as they would say in NHL world. So what do we like? What do we not like about this? I think it's -2.5 is what I'm seeing in favor of the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Detroit here. I'm just not a big believer in the Chargers, and I'm not impressed with last week. I don't care that they beat the Jets. Their defense got it done. It was like their first great defensive game basically all year long. Like, the Chargers offense is great. I'll go to DVOA again, but, Detroit 8th in total DVOA, 8th against the pass, 13th against the run. And you look at the Chargers 23rd total DVOA, 21st against the pass, 20th against the run. Offensively, they can probably hang with Detroit, 8th in total DVOA, 8th pass, 20th rush, but they've missed Eckler for a big chunk of the season. And then Detroit 5th in total DVOA offense, 6th in pass, and 5th in rush DVOA offense as well. And it sounds like they could get Dave Montgomery back this week. And even if not, Gibbs has shown us over the past couple of weeks that he's a player. Like, Detroit's giving him the ball, unlike Arthur Smith not giving the ball to Bijan Robinson here. But I look at the Chargers defense, and the completion percentage against is among the top, 7.2 yards per attempt allowed. It's the third highest mark. They were the highest mark heading into last week as well, but Zach Wilson just struggled, right? Turnovers right away, fumble from Garrett Wilson. And I look at Jared Goff in domes, this season at home, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, 8.1 yards per attempt, 72% completion rate. On the road, 4-2, 6.9 yards per attempt, 65% completion rate. And then last year at home, I know this game is on the road, but listen, it's almost going to be like a home game for them in Los Angeles, but it's going to be in a dome, so the weather won't be a factor. But last year at home, the splits were significant. Goff had 6 touchdowns and 4 picks outside of the dome. And last year at home, 23 touchdowns and 3 interceptions with a 66% completion rate. That's both sides. It's unbelievable. And Detroit's second most yards per game, and the Chargers allowing the most passing yards per game. So I think the defense is better in Detroit. You mentioned the bye, coming off the bye. The Chargers are just a mediocre 500 squad, in my opinion. I just feel like they're overrated. Herbert is a good quarterback. Keenan Allen's been great, and Eckler can make things happen, certainly on the field when the ball's in his hands. But other than that, Palmer on IR, they're not finding a way to get the ball to Quentin Johnston. So I am going to lean here with Detroit. I think they're a much better football team, and I think that they're going to go in and win because of their defense.
All right, I'm going to stick with the topic of the intangible factors because we have another overseas game. I personally was looking at this New England Colts game in Germany because I'm like, there's no way Bill Belichick's going to let his team lose yet again. Things have not been good for the Pats. So New England actually has international marketing rights in Germany. So they might have somewhat of a, make it feel like a little bit of a home game. And then Bill Belichick is undefeated overseas. Now, granted, he had Tom Brady for a lot of that, but are you going to bet against that or stick with it? I think I might take New England money line on this. I know it's kind of a pick 'em game, but right now the Pats are the underdog. I don't know if you guys are staying away from this or the Germany.
I'm staying away.
The overseas
I'm a
games
coward.
are just fun. Like crazy things happen. And so I look at these games and I'm like, these are the ones we should stay away from. But then it makes it more fun when you're playing them. So that's me. That's my personal opinion. I'm just living on the edge here, Sam.
Do you see an edge, Sam, in this game at all?
I'm 100% staying away from this one. This game looks so ugly.
Ugly.
About it. It's hard to bet against New England with their tough stretch the last couple of weeks. But how do you feel comfortable betting on a team with? Jalen Reagor is like their second wide receiver right now. I don't know how. I can't physically put money behind a team like that. But then, you mentioned the overseas record. I don't know if I feel comfortable, betting on Minshew against Belichick as well. So it's a stay away from me.
I struggled with finding a good money line game this week because there wasn't a lot of when you go pull the graphic back up, there's really no good. There's not a lot of plus money on here. So I'm like, when I'm looking at the dogs, I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna take a risk here, I at least want plus money involved. But there wasn't anything super exciting. Where's the other one that Titans Tampa Bay, another pick'em game. I'm like, I don't know about that one either. Are you guys staying away from that?
I would lean from the thing with the Colts and the Pats, it's just so much uncertainty there, and Bill Belichick will probably shut down Pittman, and I think that if we're gonna pick maybe a game here with a pick'em that can go either way, because there is a couple close ones here, like the Falcons and Cardinals with Kyler coming back, and the Jets and the Raiders popped off last week, with the coaching change, but that was, I think, more so on the Giants, and the Jets coming into town. The defense should be able to shut down that Raiders offense. But I like the Bucs here at home. Their defense certainly has not been good. Their pass defense has been awful. We saw CJ Stroud. I want to give credit to CJ Stroud. He was fantastic last week, but coming back late in that game, no real excuse for the Bucs to give up those plays with 26 seconds left. But I like them at home. Baker Mayfield's played pretty good this year. You can throw on the Titans going up against a rookie quarterback and Will Levis, who has shown us a couple things in 2 games, but he's also made a couple big mistakes as well. One thing the Bucs do decently well anyways, is stop the run. So maybe they can bottle up Henry just a little bit. Rachaad White is coming off one of his better games, albeit the Titans are a decent run defense too. But I'll lean with Baker here and some of the better weapons that the Bucs have. But that's another game where you don't have to put your hard-earned dollars on it. Maybe you just bypass it because this is 2 bad football teams.
Especially this time of year, it's hard because it's obviously everyone's looking at the playoff contenders and you know what? I just want to give some love to the losing teams. Come on, just let me do that a little bit.
Fair. I like it. Can't forget about them.
We have to hit this one because it's a big game. Browns, Baltimore. Deshaun Deshaun Watson sounds like he will probably be returning this week. I don't know, Meaney, you're the one that's pretty in tune with all of those updates. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, Watson should be good to go. He was able to
Okay.
play last week at full health and even limited this week in practice. I don't think there's any concerns with him. I'd like to get Sam's thoughts too. I know he's talked up both of these teams at times, in the DFS circles and here when he joined the show as well. I remember him. I think I remember you talking up the Browns at one point. But I got the under. Our NFL model has a bit of an edge with the under as well. I just want to give both defenses some love because, and they're pretty much identical. Like a couple numbers here, like Baltimore 4.6 yards per pass attempt allowed, number 1, 60% quarterback completion percentage against, number 4. The Browns have the best opponent completion percentage against at 55.4, and then 5.4 yards per attempt, which is number 2. Talk about DVOA statistics. Cleveland number one against the pass, number 1 against the run. Baltimore number 2 against the pass, number 3 against the run, just behind Cleveland as number 2 total DVOA. Cleveland allows 234 yards per game. That's number 1. 144 passing yards per game. That's number 1. Baltimore right behind them, just a tick in both of those categories. Sub 100 on the ground, both teams. Baltimore's only allowed 13 points is the best mark. Cleveland's only allowed 17 points is the third best mark. And when these teams play, and that's how we let off the show at the AFC North, they're all in the playoff picture at the moment. But I find when these two teams play each other, it's a little bit of an offensive struggle, right? Both defenses are playing pretty good. Not a lot of points scored, no real surprises. Lamar's been held under 200 passing yards in each of his last 2 games, just 1 passing touchdown. He only had 186 passing yards in the game against Cleveland, but he did score twice and he had a couple rushing touchdowns. But I see this as like a 2014 game, a 14-13 game. I think Baltimore wins the football game. But I don't know where you're at, Sam, but I just don't think we'll see a lot of offense in this game. I mean, both of these defenses are just playing too good at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think you're pretty safe taking an under on any AFC North matchup. I mean, these games are always just ugly, let alone, like you said, these are the top 2 defenses in DVOA. And even if the Ravens do end up getting ahead early, we've seen what this offense is. They're not trying to put up as many points as possible. They're fine, holding on to a lead, slowing down or speeding up the game, And I think that's something that we'll see in this game. Whichever team gets up ahead, they're going to be comfortable just holding on to that lead and letting their defense hold on to the game. So I think it's a brutal matchup for both Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson hasn't had to do much in the past couple weeks with their defense controlling the game. But I think even if he is going to be called to do more in this matchup, I think he's going to struggle a lot. I mean, he did fine against Cleveland the last game, but the Cleveland's offensive side of the ball just had no push. So I think it's going to be a really ugly game. Like, as far as fantasy and DFS goes, like, I don't want any part of either teams. Besides, I mean, I think both defenses are playing. I think Baltimore can win the game, but I think the Browns defense can have a solid game as well. So, yeah, I'm definitely with you on the under.
Well, unfortunately, you can't pick all the AFC North teams this week because of this game. Somebody's going to lose. But for the other ones, I know we obviously like the Steelers, the Bengals. I'm sure we're going to pick them as well. 17-6 right now is the AFC North against non-divisional opponents. So, yeah, I mean, powerhouses right now for sure. But that's going to make things exciting coming down the stretch here. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Nothing for me. I think if we usually do some survivor thoughts. I actually still have the Bills available in one of my leagues. So, if you have Buffalo, I think that's, a decent little spot there. Of course, if you have the Cowboys available too, you can ride with them. Maybe Cincinnati against Houston. Maybe you sweat that one out because CJ Stroud has been pretty good this season, but I do like where the Bengals are at the moment. Touchdown favorites. So I would take a look at maybe those teams. And I suppose if they're all gone, I would expect Seattle to bounce back at home too. I know Washington's had some nice moments and Sam Howell's been a pretty great fantasy quarterback this year, but you can throw on Washington, and I think Gino will hook up with a couple of his boys this weekend. So I would, we're deep into the season where you have to make some tough decisions in Survivor, and I would go that route with the Seahawks at home.
Sam?
Yeah, no, nothing for me. I'm excited. Like I said, Thanksgiving is right around the corner.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's more important, the games or the turkey?
Ooh, that's tough.
That's hard. That's hard.
Good thing we don't have to choose, but
right. All right, guys. Great show as always. Enjoyed our time talking about this. Things are getting excited after we've officially passed the halfway mark of the season. So join us next week on the NFL Betting Show. Sam, we appreciate you coming on as always.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great. We'll have to have you on again before the season
definitely.
ends for sure. So, all right, guys, have a great week. Thanks for watching.